Grow your cleaning business, make more money, have more time. This is the Profit Cleaners Podcast with your hosts, Brandon Condry and Brandon Shane.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Profit Cleaners, the only place where you can learn from the top 1% of cleaning business owners from around the world to take it to the next level and win. And speaking of winning, we have an amazing guest on the show today. Mitch is, in my definition of winning, definitely, Mitch is an awesome guy. You guys have not maybe met Mitch in person, but you've heard him on the podcast before. We're bringing him back, and we're going to talk today all about the new hiring funnel Mitch built for us and how amazing it's working, and hopefully add some value and help you guys out and show you, if you want to implement this in your business, how you can it's not the silver bullet to fixing your hiring problem, but I think it's definitely a good experiment you could run in your business. And also we're going to talk about how valuable are your employees, and if you're actually, we had a conversation today, Mitch and I think it is a fascinating question we should talk about. And we talk about lifetime value of your customers all the time, but let's talk about what's the lifetime value of employees and the return on that investment. So welcome, Mitch, to the show today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And second time that I've been back here.
Yeah, man. And you're in we got Mitch in our courses and our marketing course, and Mitch has been a big part of our growth at Sandia Green Clean. So yeah, Mitch, it's exciting times, man. We're still working together, and it's fun to have you on board because you have a wealth of knowledge in this industry, and it's just always fun talking to you. So
yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate bringing it on.
Yeah, so let's get into it, man. So let's tell people kind of like where we were at. We actually, normally we're just running ads for the cleaning customers and acquiring new customers. Customer acquisition always be growing. But now, recently, we've had kind of a big challenge in our business, just like a lot of people in their cleaning business, I think, are struggling with the hiring issue. There's a small labor pool. Maybe it's going to come back because people are going to actually want to work again. But for now, we've been figuring it out and running this experiment. So like, let's just fill people in on where we've transitioned to with the new funnel, and like kind of behind the scenes, like give people a look at what we've been working on, you know?
Yeah, so a month or two ago, you came to me with this conundrum, and a lot of what I do is actually help people hire, in addition to running ads to get cleaning customers and whatnot. Then I've done a lot of that with hiring as well, and it's not just cleaning companies. It's I've talked to landscape experts. I've talked to I work with a lot of truck driving companies. Everyone is having a harder time hiring in today's market, and we've all just had questions as to why, but the end result is that it's been a challenge, and it was exactly the challenge that you were experiencing in your company. So but like with getting customers for cleaning companies, then we also ran these ads on Facebook. We decided, why don't we go to Facebook? We can get exposure to most of the humans in the target market for Sandia Green Clean.
Right.
And we can get these ads in front of people and say, hey, we're looking for work. Because just not enough people are going to the job boards, not enough people are going to Craigslist. The traditional ways that have always worked in the past aren't necessarily keeping up with demand. And I think you said you guys were down like a partial team, which messed with all your scheduling, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was screwing up everything because all our efficiencies were off. We normally run our 2-person teams, but we had a bunch of 2-person teams running out there, which means they were running in overtime. Like we had hundreds of hours of overtime. It was bad, and so it was really a problem we needed to fix. And I was just really, like you said, like the other platforms we were using, like posting on Craigslist, or sometimes like the Facebook local groups and job hiring groups, just anywhere we would normally post, we're getting less traffic, getting less results, or it was just like a lesser quality lead, maybe a combination of everything. We couldn't figure it out. And we tried even Indeed. We got quite a few leads on Indeed, but we were just not, like, we tried their automated booking and like process, and it was just a mess, and it wasn't working, and we just couldn't figure that one out. Even though like it was working, but it wasn't, like, the results weren't there. We weren't actually filling the teams. And so we just had this ongoing problem, which we've never had because we've normally have teams and people stick around, but just as of really the last year or so, it's become more and more difficult. So I was excited to at least have another avenue to experiment with to fix this part of the business. And like you said, we had team 11 we're struggling with like filling, and we had some floaters that were helping us fill some gaps, but just we couldn't get a consistent team on that last team. So we finally filled that team, and we finally filled team 12 and just launched team 12. We're looking at, even buying more cars soon for the next teams because car prices are coming down. So I mean, like, it's just, so we're trying to take advantage of all the opportunity as well, because I think where there's chaos and disorder and all this craziness going on, there's also opportunity. So we're trying to find the opportunity here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other problem that I thought was funny is, like, we have to turn off our customer acquisition ads. We can't help any more customers because, like you just said, you guys are getting so inefficient just servicing the current customers that you have. So I'll share my screen and just walk through the ad and the funnel real quick. For those listening to it, I guess I'll try to kind of explain it along the way.
And just what you were saying too, like, we did have to like throttle the customer intake because we can't even stop it as it is. There's organic leads that, like, as you see, Mitch, that show up on our general estimate form too, just from our other marketing efforts. But like, when you turn on the Facebook ads, it's like pouring gas, like it's like rocket fuel on a fire. Just like, it's just even more. And it's like, if you want to grow and scale a business, it's a great way to do it, but you got to have the product perfected. You got to be able to deliver the service. So you're right. Like, we didn't have the people to deliver the service, even though we could like scale up and get the customers like all day long. That was the problem for sure. So we had a hole in our boat. We need to plug it.
Yep. So here's an ad. It's really a pretty simple ad. And to be honest, this is actually a picture that we also use for getting cleaning customers. We just recycled. We were doing this kind of fast. We just recycled content that Brandon and his team already had. And so this is one of those ads, but it's a fun picture. If you can see it. But then the ad copy is very simple. It just talks about a sign-on bonus that you guys were doing. Yep. And then the pay, which in your guys' case was $12.50 per hour, up to $15 plus an hour, plus enjoy your weekend and paid holidays. So, and then a little testimonial from one of their employees. So really a pretty simple ad, nothing fancy here. But then if they click on the apply now button, then it takes it to a landing page. And before we dive into the landing page too much, I do want to make a note. On Facebook ads, when you're running ads for employment, then Facebook does put a lot of restrictions on you with targeting. They call it a special ad category. And basically all they're doing is they're forcing us to comply with the Equal Opportunities Employment Act, where you can't be, what's the word? You can't pick your employees based on race, gender, age, stuff like that. You can't push them away for any certain reasons due to those. So it makes you target 18 to 65 plus. It makes you target male and female. It makes you target everyone. It doesn't allow you to target that audience to certain people, like 20 to 25 or whatever. You just have to target everyone.
I just want to point out, sorry to interrupt, Mitch. I just want to point out, if anyone's listening to this just on the podcast and they can't see what we're talking about, we can just describe it a little bit more too. But we'll give you guys this will be on YouTube too. We'll put the video in the show notes. We'll put this funnel link in the show notes, and we'll give you Mitch's info too, because got Mitch the master here. So Mitch, take it away.
Yeah, so that was a little note about the ads. You do have to run on special ad category. A lot of people, I was doing hiring ads when they made that transition. And like for truck drivers, for instance, you have to be 21 to drive a truck to have a Class A CDL. And we had to start targeting 18-year-olds. And I was a little worried. I was like, well, this is the end of my business. Oh. But it turns out it really didn't make that big of a difference. It's really not that big of a deal. Like when you get in there and you're trying to make this ad, and you're like, I can't target a specific age. It's okay. It's fine. Just move forward with it. So on this landing page, also pretty simple. It just says join our cleaning team. And then again, reiterates those couple of things: 150 hiring bonus, $12.50 an hour, paid holidays, and then a little paragraph about Sandia Green Clean, and then a quick little apply now box. We got our name, our email, and our phone number. Right. And then
we determined this was the reason because before we had a big old long form. There's 10 or 20 questions to pre-qualify people. We determined this was the way to go, was to not qualify people as much up front, we had to do that on the backside, but to get their info and capture that lead right away, just some simple info, right?
Yeah, and that is, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because that's the traditional way to hire is you put it out there with a long application with 10, 20, 30 questions asking for their social security number and their employment verification and all this stuff. And the way I think about it, I compare it to dating. It's like you haven't even gone on a date with this person. You're like asking them out on a blind date, but then you're asking for their firstborn child, their social security number, and their last 10 years of employment history and where they live. Like, that's a little creepy. I mean, if you think about it.
It is.
Whereas, right now we're just asking them, we're like, hey, we think we're cool to work for. Maybe you'll think we are too. Put your info in here. You can find out if we're cool to work for. I mean, that's, and then it's just name, email, phone number. It's pretty simple. That information is public anyway, right? So
yeah, it's like instead of like chasing the cat down, you just set out a little trap, and you know, like I think Felix Dennis talks about that in How to Get Rich in his book. He's like, if you want to get rich, attract people like you would attract a cat. You got to put the bait out. You got to put here's why we're cool to work with. Come work with us and get people excited instead of chasing them down and making them answer 20 questions about crazy private stuff that you just lost the lead. Like literally we used to look at those form conversions and a lot of people would leave those forms because just don't have time, or like something happens in the background and they can't finish filling it out, you know? So
whatever it is. Then we scroll down the page, there's just some more information about Sandia Green Clean. Really well put together, so make sure you do find the link to look at this landing page. And then some more benefits, and then some testimonials from current employees, video testimonials that you guys have put together.
Yeah, and that was a big thing we added that I thought was really cool, that we had the teams come in. Brandon recorded it. Brandon Condry did it back at the office, and just had the teams come up after a team meeting and just like asked them some questions, and it was kind of like impromptu and just like, you know, like a lot of people think you have to have like professional production to do all this. No, we just like pulled out our phones. They were just hanging out at the couch at the office talking, and they were honestly, it was like very genuine. It came off very genuine, and what I loved about it was the things they said in those testimonial videos were a lot of the same fundamental concepts of our culture we're trying to build, of our core values that we're trying to build into our company. So I was like, man, it's like super cool. They're talking about the stuff we want to be our core values in our culture in the business.
Oh, that's very cool.
And then that's what also is going to attract those similar minded employees, like other people that see those are going to be like, yeah, that looks like a fun team to work with. And they feel that culture too, and that genuine team that we're building. And I think that also is a big concept, right? And like video is huge. If you guys can ever use video in your marketing, even for hiring, I mean, it's a huge deal. It out converts everything, right? Video is huge.
Yep. Oftentimes it works very well. And one thing to keep in mind as well with this is that all of those things, you also have to have a good offer. You have to have a good culture. You can't be paying these people peanuts and expecting them to get excited about coming to work with you. That is another thing to think about. Brandon and them at Sandia Green Clean, they've created a great place to work. And so it will attract more people. If you have a horrible place to work, this still isn't going to work. Like, you need to create a good place to work.
And I know in some parts of the world, like Australia, like you probably pay $25 or $30 an hour to your employees. It's going to be a lot different everywhere. We're in a much different market.
Sure.
But yeah, like wherever you're at, like find what that rate is and pay the most you can. Find the best people you can and pay them the most. That's going to help.
Yep. There you go. Then, so after they fill out this form and submit it, then we actually changed this a couple times. But the first thing we did was we had them fill out that long form that Brandon was talking about earlier, after we at least got their initial information. But then we changed it. Brandon and his team decided, that's not helping very much. So let's just take them to step 2 and let them schedule an interview. And so they were able to just see right on this calendar, hey, here's some spots that are available to do an interview with us. And then at the same time, that person also got an automatic text to say, hey, we're so glad you're interested in our position for our cleaning company. I'm going to give you a call in the next little bit. and then somebody on his team would call these people and follow up with them and say, hey, I'm glad you're interested in working with us, and then go through that screening process, that the 20 questions. Like, those questions still need to get asked eventually, but just not before you go on a date with them. Like, tell them about why you're awesome to work with, get them excited about why they want to work with you, and then you can ask them all those questions, because then they're going to be willing to answer them, because they really want to work with you if you did your job right.
Absolutely, man. I love that. I think that's a great way to think about it. And yeah, it's like, as soon as they would opt in right here, even if they didn't finish scheduling with Raina immediately would text them back or call them. She was actually calling them first and then texting them, which we were not doing before. And it's just simple things, like you would never think that's so simple, but that actually upped our conversion rate. We did a whole podcast about that, and it was just literally that call and that follow-up and making it more personalized. Again, not trying to automate everything like sometimes we try to do, and we kick ourselves later, but it's sometimes that human element is really important. And in this situation, I think Raina kind of personalizing that follow-up, texting them, hey, I noticed you hadn't scheduled yet. She would send them the link on Calendly to schedule to that page again, or just to the link to schedule. And if they had it, and then, just call them. And she found certain times of the day that worked better. Like, I think she said towards the end of the day worked better because a lot more people would answer. So she did her calls then. And it just, I don't know if it was just a combination of all these things. I don't think there's one silver bullet or one key. It's just this is an ongoing experiment, but we're just figuring out how to make it work better. And so it's awesome. So yeah, we scheduled it right into to that step, and then from there it's on the back dashboard that you built out, and we can see all this organized. So the team they can actively see, just like we do with the customer leads, they can see very clearly, hey, this person we're talking to, this person hasn't replied back, this one's scheduled with us and they're coming in on Friday, this person we rejected, they're not going to be a good fit. And so it keeps it really organized visually. So that's great for them. They haven't complained about that at all. They've enjoyed using that system. So great job setting that up, Mitch.
Yep. Yeah, and this really was very light on the automation. I think there was one text that went out in addition to the ones that Raina was sending out. But so should we dive into the costs now? You want to look at the costs of these ads?
Yeah. So let's look at whatever you want to share, man. We can look at costs. Yeah. I do, and I definitely look at some of those numbers were really interesting. We talked about, and how much is your team worth, and looking at the value of what each employee, what they create. Because sometimes you're looking at this as a cost, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to spend money to get an employee, a quality employee, but it's also an investment because they're generating money into your business. So you have to look at it like that.
Yeah. I would venture to guess as we go through these costs, people might be a little shocked on the front end, but then Brandon will explain the numbers inside of the business to explain that this is really a no-brainer investment. If you need the hiring, I mean, if you're in a market condition where you can do this for free, absolutely. Like previous market conditions, like a year ago, you guys didn't have to spend this money, but now you have to spend the money. So the point is that although you had to spend this money now, it was still worthwhile. So the ads that we ran cost $1,100. From that $1,100, we got 720 people clicked on the ad, and then 56 people filled out that short form, the name, email, phone number.
Okay.
So we got 56 leads, 56 people for Raina to talk to. And then we just heard back from her, and she said that you guys were able to hire 4 of these leads that came directly through here. There may or may not have been a few more that just saw the ad and then just called directly. Then we don't know. They came from Facebook, but we know that absolutely 4 came from this.
And we know that we had a team that wasn't filled, team 11, and we know now that's filled, and we have a whole nother team that's filled. So at least I would say 6 people, give or take. It's floater here or there. Yep. So yeah, so there was a few other people that might have come from referrals or whatever else, but we can focus on the 4 because we absolutely know that 4 came from this. So that's $275 per hire. Now, for the people listening, I don't know if that sounds high or that sounds low, but Brandon, why don't you share what we figured out about how much an employee is worth to your company and why it's so valuable, and that $275 per hire is no brainer. Yeah, so if you look at it as the investment, and you're getting to spend this money in order to acquire, not a customer in this case, a customer, the lifetime value of a customer in the cleaning business over that whole year is $3,000, maybe $5,000. Maybe in over 10 or 20 years, it's a lot more, and a lot of people stick with you that long. So it could be huge. But with your teams, with that number, even though it sounds high, you're like $275. But what do we calculate, Mitch? It was $1,500 per month per person, approximately, because each team is generating. We have an average invoice of $214, 5 houses a day. We're doing about $278,000 per year per team of a 3-person team. So if you break that down, it's about $1,500 per person per month, right? Which is huge. So you're spending a fraction of that. Like you said, you make that up back in a week or two. You make that investment back, and you have a system and a person that you've empowered in your company to help you deliver your service. So
and that was $1,500 of the profit after you've paid that person, after you've factored in all the other costs of the car, the equipment, the supplies, all of that stuff. That's $1,500 a month profit that will come back to your company as the result of having one employee. Do you know your average retention rate? Do you happen to know that off the top of your head? We didn't talk about that before.
Retention of employees?
Yeah.
That's a great question, man. I know it's been all over the place, and I could ask our team manager. She's probably got that number, but it's gotten more consistent though as of lately, and I think we're doing a lot more things in the business and the company that just are building the team values. Like they do team call outs now, and they share like, hey, you're living the values, like I saw you do this, you had open, honest communication, or whatever our core values are that we're building in our company. Like we're starting to really build that, and I think a lot of that's helping with retention. I don't have an exact number on it right now, but I would say it's getting better because I can see that we're running a lot more efficiently. And then the other way to think about that too is that $275 investment to bring in those employees plugs that hole in your boat, which is leaking out all this, like that overtime and that inefficiency of overtime took our profit margins way down to where now we're back at, like Brandon just texted me back, it's like right around 20% profit margins, which is where we want to be. And if we can get more efficient, great. But if you're growing faster, you might have lower profit margins like we have for a while to grow faster. But that's that changes your whole business right there. Just getting people in the door, that investment of high quality people, paying them well, keeping them around, plugs that hole in your boat. And now you're not losing money, because we were like basically losing money. Like we were like, crazy low profit margins because our whole all the revenue is going to payroll because of the overtime. So if you trim out that overtime and you're really efficient again, which we just got again because we have these full teams, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. It's priceless. So I don't know what to say. I'm excited that it's working. So
and you think about, I mean, if you the people listening can figure out their own retention rate, but if it's 3 months, that's $4,500, 1,500 times 3. If it's 6 months, it's 1,500 times 6, $9,000. Those $275 that you turned into 4,500, 6,000, 9,000, however long your retention rate is on average. Like there are going to be the people that come in and leave within a month. That's still going to happen in this case, even though you paid $275 to get that person. But it's the average retention rate. You're also going to have that person that stays for 5 years, and it's a good investment.
Yeah, absolutely. So like even on the conservative side of that, it's like every person bringing in $1,500 a month, or call it $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 a year that cleaner is bringing in. So is it worth it to invest a few $100 to bring in a really high quality candidate? Yes. And even if you spend more than that, just figuring this game out. Like there was some days where our cost per conversion, to acquire the lead, right, Mitch? And that's the other thing we need to talk about. We had English ads and Spanish ads going on this, but at one point we were running them in the beginning, and it was like creeping up like $20, $30 a lead, or way more, maybe even at one point. But then we gave it a week, we gave it some time for the algorithm to propagate and to get smarter, and then brought it way down. It's like $5 a lead, but sometimes it fluctuates too. But it's better than nothing. It's better than having a hole in your boat. So
and we did test some things along the way, different stuff along the way that it would have been cheaper. Like next time we do this, it'll probably be a little bit cheaper than the $1,100 to get 56 leads, just because we figured it out now. So, and
Yeah,
you guys can get the link to the funnel in the description down below. So
yeah, so we're gonna put the link to the funnel. You guys can get that for free. If you want this funnel, it's like we basically created a template so you can use this funnel, and that's in our 10x marketing course. And Mitch is also in the course. He teaches several modules in there, and he teaches the setup of a lot of this stuff, and actually all of this stuff. If you guys want to build this funnel for your business, Mitch teaches you how to do it. He'll also help you do it, but you can do it however you want. It's up to you guys. But we'll, at least if you want to just see the funnel for free and you want to go check out this video and see what we're talking about as we're walking through this, if you're listening to the podcast and you want to see it visually, head over to the website and check out the show notes for the podcast, and you guys can see this. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's simple too, but sometimes like that's what works. Sometimes people want to complicate marketing and like make it all fancy and have all these bells and whistles and like beautiful images everywhere. It's like, like I've learned that like time and time again, even from like the best copywriters, they'll like have some ugly ad and they'll be like, this ad outperforms every ad, and it's like ugly and it's like handwritten on a napkin or something. And you're like, how does that work, man? But people open that stuff. Like that's why the letters that people send you that are handwritten in the mail, you open those. People can tell the other ones, they don't click on those. But so it's just small things you do in your marketing, even simplifying stuff, I think is what it comes down to sometimes. So
Yep, I'd absolutely agree.
Yeah. So anyways, anything else we want to tell people, Mitch? Like we've actually switched back to recruiting more cleaning customers because we filled our teams. But that's the cool thing about this, is you can kind of turn it on and off as you need customers or employees. It's like, that's the beauty of a funnel. You just turn it on or off, right?
Yep. Now we've been able to get back to, he's gotten team number 12. So we've been able to get back to, let's get customers to fill that team schedule. And then I suppose in another month or two, you might be ready to turn back on the hiring ads to get yourself team 13. But
yeah,
that is the cool part about this. And you'll have to get these numbers for yourself. Understand that these numbers are for Sandia Green Clean in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Like they are going to be different for everyone everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you do it once, then we know, like in this case, you guys could know that with pretty good assurity, you could probably spend $1,000, $1,500 to get a team. And then you know that that's a good investment, but then you can budget for it. You can plan for it. You know what it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now you've done it.
And I think a lot of people are having this issue right now. So if this is an issue, guys, this is a possible solution. And, but it's like everything in business and life is an experiment. So throw some spaghetti at the wall, see if it sticks. And, I think this is pretty cool though, because it's I didn't realize, like, I didn't think of it that way before. Like we're always like recruiting like customers, but it's like we never had to recruit employees. But now you kind of have to play the game a little differently. You got to try a little bit harder, and this is just, the game has changed a little bit, but it's kind of fun figuring it all out. So yeah, I'm glad we've been able to work on this together.
Yeah, and for anyone that's already running their own Facebook ads to get cleaning customers, these are very, very similar to running those types of ads. And so, you could probably do that too. You'll be great at that too, which is a good thing. It makes it easy. If you're not already running them for getting customers, then it might be a little harder learning curve, but it still can be done. So yeah, it's available. It's an available option.
Yeah, and kind of the way I think about all these platforms, guys, like whether you're running ads on Facebook or YouTube or Nextdoor or whatever other local whatever you're finding your customers on, like leverage those platforms, but realize that you're just renting space on those places. Like you ultimately want to get those people's emails. You want to get them on your email list. You want to get those people converted to customers. So faster you can get them off those platforms and get them into your funnel, into your control. Because if you just have a business on Facebook and that's it, you're not building your own email list. You're not building your own funnels that bring in these leads and build your email list. Like that's where the gold is. And you need to build your list and your customers. And so this is a great way to get them in. Same with your employees. Build your employee list. Like you got to have people that deliver a superior quality product from your competition. So leverage this way to do it too. And it just, I think it comes down to too, you just got to meet people where they're at, right, Mitch? Like if people change where they're wanting to find jobs, like maybe everyone is hanging out on Facebook or other places. We just got to go get in front of those people wherever they're at, you know? So, and things change all the time, especially in business, change fast, you know? So you just gotta keep up with everything and be constantly innovating or thinking of ways to make things better. That's what we're always doing. So that's what we're bringing to you guys. I think it was a great show today. And I don't know if you want to add anything else, Mitch, but
I think that's it. I appreciate you having me on and sharing this, because it is cool how well it worked and you guys were able to get back on track.
Yeah, I think one thing too that you said that was really cool was you do this with a lot of trucking companies. You work with a lot of, right? And you're like people that, or maybe just tell people about that and how a lot of people, and maybe even in the cleaning business, like you got to know these numbers, but if you understand these numbers, right, it's just a huge game changer.
Yeah, I do work with a lot of trucking companies, and we talk about the numbers are different. Like instead of an employee being worth $1,500 a month, they're worth more than that. Still the reality is that you do need to understand these numbers, and the same goes for customer acquisition. I found that time and time again in running my own business, in looking at other people's businesses, because I get to look at a lot of businesses throughout running a marketing agency and helping people with their marketing, because if you have to understand the numbers to do the marketing appropriately. But it's very similar to the numbers you need to understand for acquiring customers. You got to understand, okay, it's going to take $5 to get a click, and then it's going to take 5 clicks to get a lead. So it's going to be $25 per lead in that example. And then out of the leads, we're going to convert 1 out of 10. So it's going to cost $250 to acquire a customer. And then you got to understand, okay, how much is a customer worth? And like you said, and this is where for cleaning companies especially, you guys have got to get them on recurring cleans to get that average customer value up, because $250 to acquire a customer, like that's probably about what it is. If you guys tracked it, we didn't talk about that number because we were going to talk about hiring, but it's going to be at least $200-$300 to get yourself a new customer. So then you need to make more than $250 from that customer. And the way to do that is recurring cleans. So then like you, if you keep them an average of 10 months, the average clean is $214. That's at least $2,000 if it was only once a month. If it's twice a month, that's $4,000. And then understand, okay, it's okay. Like it is scary. It's uncomfortable to shell out $250 to get a customer, but understanding those numbers, I think, brings a lot of peace to understand, okay, it's okay, I'm going to make $4,000 on average from this person. So that 250 is covered. And same thing with employees, understand those numbers. And I think maybe understanding these numbers might help some of the people on the podcast understand I could pay them a little more. Inflation it is a thing. It is happening. I could maybe you're losing people to other cleaning companies or whatever that are paying more. If you have your margins in line, then you'll be able to increase the pay, understanding these numbers. Yeah.
And like use that as a selling point and a reason why when you tell your customers, hey, we also have to, like we've increased our prices recently, and that was one of the reasons why was we pay our teams the best, and we want to have the best, happiest people come in your home when they clean your home, and like they deserve the best, and so do you. Like it's a direct reflection. It comes back to them anyway. So those kind of things people want to pay more for. It's like you have your favorite restaurant. I heard this analogy the other day, and it made a lot of sense to me. But it was like, a lot of all sorts of businesses, restaurants included, are cutting corners. And this one restaurant I heard from a buddy the other day was saying, it's my favorite restaurant. They always get it. Him and his wife get this takeout, and they went and got it this one night recently. And without telling their customers, they completely changed the quality of their menu. They completely changed the ingredients. And they didn't tell anybody, and they still were charging the same price. So they cut quality in order to keep prices. Whereas most people, including my buddy, would said, I would have rather paid more and had the same quality or better quality and just paid more. And now you lost me as a customer. So find ways to build that value into your products. Find ways to build, don't lessen the quality on people, add more value and increase your prices, and people will pay it, and they're willing to pay it, and they'd rather pay it. And same with your employees. and it's a trickle down effect, like, so I agree, man. I think knowing that number and knowing that lifetime value of not just your customers, but also your employees, and realizing how that all works together, and then it makes it much more easy, like a lot easier to invest. You got that peace of mind knowing that this is going to come back. This is a return on my investment, and you can clearly see that. So I think that's really helpful for me, and hopefully a lot of other people listening to this. So yeah, thanks for shedding light on that, Mitch. I think everyone.
I appreciate you having me on and talking about that. That's a fun topic to talk about. It's fun to see the impact.
Yeah. So if you guys, Mitch, if you want to tell people, you can definitely tell people where to find you. Obviously, they can find all your training in our course, in our 10X course, and get your contact in there too. But tell them how to find you, how they can, learn more about this stuff if they need help with this in their business.
Yeah, you can email me at mitch@m3traffic.com. And even if you just have a question, if you just want to ask a quick question, I'm happy to talk about it and help get people on the right track. So
yeah, and I don't know if
we can do that too, but
yeah, I don't even know if Mitch has room on his schedule. Mitch is a pretty busy guy, and also Mitch works with he's worked with a lot of the top marketers in the world, so I don't even know how I'm so lucky to work with him. But I just think that if you guys get the chance, reach out to Mitch, pick up the 10X course if you haven't. The funnel templates are in there. Mitch will also help build them out for you. We can help answer any questions. Mitch, reach out to Mitch. He's super knowledgeable on all this stuff, and we just want to help you guys out. So if you're having trouble hiring or getting customers, this is one way to do it. It's not the only way to do it, but it's a good way to do it. So check it out, guys. Reach out to Mitch, and until next time, keep it clean.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today. To get more info, including show notes, updates, trainings, and super cool free stuff, head over to profitcleaners.com. And remember, keep it clean.